We're at the time of year where we have to start putting the plants out every day to harden them off, get them used to the UV rays of the sunlight and to the wind and to the weather. And we're really good at finding any horizontal space and filling it up with stuff. So we have a lot of the trays that we use on this stand. This stand has seen better days. It's started to rot away. And the one that we're using is on some old sawhorses. And we have boards that we put down over it, which makes it really heavy. And the boards eventually rot because they were just rough sawn lumber. So we're right here by the side of the greenhouse, and this is the side that had the lean-to or addition on it. And this is how we're going to help solve our problem. So I took the rafters that used to be part of the lean-to and saved those as I was demolishing the lean-to part. I was just so rotted away, it just wasn't useful anymore. And I've used them to make a frame for a stand. Now they weren't the best things to use. I can see right here, they've warped and twisted over the years. So it's certainly not square, not the best looking thing in the world. But the price of the wood was right, reusing it. And basically what we do is we just make out a frame. This is roughly 80 inches long, and it's about 44 inches wide. A little extra down on this end, obviously. And we're going to use this for the plant stand to harden the plants off on. We don't want to use boards on top of it. I'll just make it heavy when we have to move it. So we're going to repurpose something else as well. Besides filling up horizontal spaces, we're also really good at smashing fence. We don't try to, but a lot of times with the equipment, if we're not paying attention or we think we're clear and we're not quite clear, we end up hitting the fence. And this welded wire, 4-foot welded wire, it just can't take any abuse from a tractor, understandably so. But we have this small short section that we've set off to the side. And it's one of those things, we'll take it to the dump, we'll get rid of it. And yeah, it's still here. So we're going to take it and we're going to repurpose it and use it for the top of the plant stand. To hold it down to the plant stand, we're going to use some 3/4 inch poultry staples. So we've got the wire down and attached. We just have to finish the edges, wrap it down around the edge and nail it. We started to on this side, but it's just one of those showery days where it's not a heavy rain. It'll stop, start again. So we're going to go home, see if we can get some work done there. I've just put some wood on the fire for the wood stove. I'll come back later and take care of that. But it's not pretty. Won't win any beauty contests, but it will do the job. And the price was right. So one way that we're going to get our plants out of the greenhouse and help them get hardened off. So as the season goes on and the days get nicer and nicer and we're getting closer to planting, one chore we have every day is taking the plants out, setting them outside so they can harden off, and then keeping them covered at night. We keep them covered at night for several reasons. One is the deer pressure. We don't have a fenced in area for them, and the deer can get at them if we leave them out overnight. And the other reason is we like to try to keep them as dry as possible. So if it rains or just overnight, if there's heavy dews, we like to try to keep the plant's leaves as dry as possible before they're planted to help with disease issues, especially for plants like tomatoes and cucumbers. But what tends to happen is we run out of room in the greenhouse. We have plants that we need to get in that aren't in, and they're taking up space before we can get other plants started. Typically what ends up happening is we end up putting them on a hay wagon and use that to get them to the field, but they tend to stay on the hay wagon for a long period of time before we can get them in. Another issue is just taking the plants in and out. It's not the hardest job in the world, but it does take time. So I think we have a solution to that problem. To solve our problem, traditionally we use a plant stand like this. That's made out of welded wire and 2x4s. and it can hold 3 trays across. The ones in the middle you actually have to turn sideways, but hold quite a few plants. The other one we use, where the summer squash are, is just a table. Same concept, 2x4s, welded wire. We put boards on top of this one just to have extra room. It's heavy. It's on sawhorses that are old and rotted, or starting to rot, and it can't hold a lot of plants, and the deer can come up to it quite easily. So what we've done is we've made a new plant stand. Now it can only hold 2 plants across, but I put some black poly pipe, screwed it down, and then put some 2x2 that I had laying around as little places to clamp to hold the plastic down. And we're going to use this to keep the plants out during the day, help harden them off, and then at night we can put the plastic over to help keep them dry, help with the deer pressure a little. The deer could push in this side where we don't have any plastic, but hopefully they'll be okay. So this is the most expensive part of the project. That I did have to go out and get some clamps. They were $4.49 a piece locally. I could have gotten them off of Amazon or a town that's farther away, but it just take too much time either way, and I wanted to get this done today. We're also using these outside diameter clamps. They fit the outside of 3/4 inch pipe, and we're using that to hold the plastic down. But the spring clamps I have set up on the side, and that's what's holding the plastic in place, other than these little clamps here. And take this down at the end of the night, flip the plastic back over, and clamp it back into place where I want it. So that's the idea. We'll see how it works. Now in my area, we're still in the danger zone of frost, so we'll still have to bring these in at night for probably the next couple weeks. Could probably get away with it if I closed off the ends with plastic here and then down there, but I didn't want to do that. This is to the south right here, and I just didn't want the sunlight blocked. Really, this should be laid out the other way, and then that way it could get maximum light in there. This is okay for now because these plants are still tender, the squash particularly, and the cucumbers, so we don't want to burn them up. So we're going to leave them out for about a half day, start to harden them off. The tomatoes are ready to plant. We've just got to get the ground ready. But just how we're going to try to save ourselves some time. As always, thanks for watching.